The incision was made just below the umbilicus, as she is not a pre-first season. The fat was blunt dissected and cut away to improve visibility and give a clear open window. I perform a double grab with the Adson forceps. This is where I raise the muscle with one pair and then grab the linea alba with the other. To keep everything safe, the linea alba was raised high and a stab incision was made, with the scalpel blade holder parallel to the skin. Check you are on target before extending the muscle with the scissors. If you have missed the peritoneum, you will have to trim the peritoneum as close to the linea alba as possible. When happy, extend the muscle with scissors, again held parallel to the body. I don't place forceps under the muscle, as this reduces the length of your incision. Some vets place forceps under the muscle and extend with a reverse blade. Initially, I would just use scissors and then experiment, once you have more experience. Don't expect to be able to find the uterus straight away and don't get frustrated. It always comes eventually. Once you have felt more uteruses, you will get quicker finding the uterus. Slide down the body wall, keeping all abdominal contents behind your finger. Touch the vertebrae and then start to slide back up, with your index finger curved like a hook. The uterine horns run parallel with the vertebrae. Try and raise the uterus midway down. If you are too far cranial or caudal, it will be held down more. I push down on the body wall and grasp the ovary with my left hand. Be careful not to pull too much on the uterus. You can pull on the ovary as the suspensory and renal ligaments take the strain and not the vessels. I change the ovary to my right hand and slide down suspensory with my left index finger. The deeper you are, the safer you are. Try and get to the insertion of the rib and press down here. With practice, you will be able to break the suspensory in seconds. Don't break the renal ligament, which runs and inserts to the ovary slightly lower down. We want to keep the renal for protection, so we can pull on the ovary and not risk any tension on the vessels. It is essential when you make your window in the broad ligament. You stay well to the right of the major ovarian vessels. Look for a translucent area. The window wants to be quite low down, so we can slide the millers down low. Rather than forcing it down, walk the ovarian clamp down, holding the ovary with some tension. Any fat or skin in the clamp, just tease it out with your finger and when in position, do 1 to 2 clicks. Use curved forceps, so they curve away from the skin and there is less chance of catching the skin. Also, Carmalt clamps are perfect. They will hold well and not give a destructive crush bed, which could bleed. Now separate the uterus by placing 2 clamps, caudally O to the right of the ovary and then cut between. So we place our first millers under the ovarian clamp. Keep it loose until you have nudged it down into position and then tighten as much as you can. Follow with 4 to 6 ones. The top clamp is then removed and the ovarian clamp moved closer to the ovary, and then the millers is formed, positioned, and tightened, and then 4 to 6 singles are added. You don't have to tie into the crush bed of the Carmalt clamps. The position of the ligature is more important. We now remove both clamps and check for bleeding. If any concerns, add another ligature. Otherwise, replace ovarian clamp and just cut the ovary out by cutting with a blade flush to the clamp. As we already know there is no bleeding, we can just release the ovary. Now ligate the broad ligament. I prefer to have no blood and ligate, rather than tear and have some blood. Keep the uterine vessel with the uterus and make your window low down in a translucent area. The reasons for ligating are, it helps exteriorize the other side of the uterus and also reduces the amount of fat in the uterine ligations. If the broad ligament is large or vascular, I use a miller's, but if only small, then a surgeon's will suffice. I rotate the clamp so the ligature tightens, some distance from the clamp. As this is an older dog, the other side is easy to find at the bifurcation. We push down on the body wall so we can grasp the ovary, and then ovary is held in the right hand, while the left index finger traces down the suspensory ligament to the insertion of the last rib. This side, the suspensory, is about twice as thick. First try pushing down. If not, push to the side and try and break in two parts. Finally, if this doesn't work, hook your finger under the suspensory and push up. Remember, the deeper you are, the more cranial you are and the safer you are away from the vessels. Now just repeat what we did on the other side. Just a note, always make the ovarian ligations as tight as you can. If you see it's cutting through fat, that's a good sign. Keep tightening. I have never known the ovarian pedicle to cheese wire in about 20,000 spays, whereas the uterus, that's a different matter. Now for the broad ligament. And now for the uterus. My ligations can vary depending on what is in front of me, but generally I always start with a surgeon's, because there is always the chance a miller's could cheese wire the uterus. And the miller's follows the surgeon's ligation. After the miller's, traditional transfixing ligatures were placed through each uterine horn. Pass the needle so it's going away from the vessels and ligate with surgeons. Now place a clamp and remove the uterus. Avoid any crush beds. Keep them on the non-uterine side. Check there is no bleeding and push forwards. Check again, in case the vessel was trapped by the muscle. We close the muscle with simple interrupted catgut. We have had no issues with catgut. You have better control on the tension. And the knot security is superb. We never have post-op problems like swollen muscle body, like we can get with PGA. Most people who hate catgut have never used it. We place one at the top and bottom. If the muscle incision underruns the skin, it is easier to place it now, rather than towards the end of the suture pattern. Keep them snug and not over tight. With this dog, I use the simple interrupted in the muscle as an anchor for the fat layer. I go deep superficial and then superficial deep and continue. More often we close the fat layer with a continuous pattern and make the anchor in the fat. It is important to hide the knot, so go deep superficial on the first side and then superficial deep. First pass after knot formation should be deep superficial. Finish with surgeons or Aberdeen. Sometimes as I go through the fat, I then take a nick of muscle before going through the other side of the fat. This helps to close the dead space, helps to stop superficial bleeders and chance of seroma formation. The short tail is snipped and the long piece is used for intradermals. I go cranial to the knot, deep through the fat and exit at the end of the wound. This pulls the knot under. We now continue intradermally, or also referred to as transdermal. At the end of the pattern, finish with surgeons or Aberdeen. The secret of burying the knot is if the needle glides through, the knot will follow. Just cranial to the knot, wriggle the needle through the wound. And lift the skin over the needle, so exit is quite some distance away. Pull on the suture with some tension, but mainly lift the skin over the knot to make burial easier.